Good evening. Let us get started. Today we are learning Maseches Sotah, Daf Yomi. Wonderful to be back in person with you. We are starting 5 lines down on Daf Yomi Amud Aleph, and today we're going to be getting into the sugya of Lishma. What aspects of the Sotah process need to be done Lishma? We know, of course, that there's the writing of the Megillah, there's the Mechika of the Megillah, there's the drinking of the Sotah, and the Gemara is now going to get into a quick set of questions that discusses this issue. Yud Ches Amud Aleph, 5-6 lines down. Kasa Beis Megillos L'Shtei Sotos. Let's say that there were 2 Megillos, and each of them were written properly, one for woman number 1, and one for woman number 2. But when they were doing the mechika, when they were actually like erasing the names, so instead of each going into their own cup, they each went into one larger container. So now the Sotah for woman number 1 and woman number 2 are mixed. The ksiva was lishma, but the mechika was done in a way where it's all garbled up. So the Gemara says, do we say ksiva lishma ba'inan v'ha'ika? Do we say that all we require in regards to Lishma is that the ksiva be done properly? And it was, because one was written for woman number 1 and one was written for woman number 2, and therefore all is fine and good. Oh, or perhaps Dilma, ba'ina nami mechika lishma, and because we may also need mechika lishma, we therefore can't have this resulting mixed drink. It needs to be cup number 1 for woman number 1 and cup number 2 for woman number 2. And even if you want to say that we need both the ksiva and the mechika, the writing and the erasing of Hashem's name for the Megillah Sotah, that they both need to be lishma, what happens if machkan bebeis kosos? Let's assume that we did it right. It was written lishma, and it was nimchak lishma, and they were even put into their own cups. Cup number 1 is perfectly for woman number 1. Cup number 2 is perfectly for woman number 2. But then v'chazar v'irvan, and then somebody wasn't paying attention and they mixed up the 2 cups. Well, what's the chakira? Mahu? Do we say mechika lishma ba'inan v'ha'ika? No, everything was done right. The resulting drink is mixed, granted, but the steps that were done to get to that point were fine. The ksiva was lishma and the mechika was lishma, but some guy wasn't paying attention and he mixed up the 2 cups of woman number 1 and woman number 2, the 2 cups for the Sotah. Odilma, do we say that the mechika was done lishma and therefore we're fine? Odilma, perhaps third of the way down, here, if I have this mixture of 2 cups worth and it's all in 1 cup and woman number 1 takes her sip and woman number 2 take that, who says the particles that you're drinking are yours? The mechika is yours. Do we need it to be so fine-tuned that really the molecules, again, that wouldn't be the lashon of the Gemara, but the molecules that you're drinking have to actually be yours? Or no, do we say that as long as there's ksiva and mechika lishma, we're good to go? And continues the Gemara, even if you want to say that halav didoka shasya, that it's a problem that neither of them has their own distinct drink, fine. What if we then split it up again? Chazar v'chilkan mahu. So let's get the case super clear. There are 2 sotos. Woman number 1 has the Megillah written and then nimchak into her own cup. Woman number 2 has the same thing. The Megillah is written lishma and nimchak into her own cup. Someone mixed up the 2 cups, and then they poured them back out into the respective cups. So what do we say? Do we say yesh breira o ein breira? Do we say that we're going to basically assume that when we redistribute the mixed 2 cups into their own individual cups, that woman number 1 gets her cup back and woman number 2 gets her cup back? Yesh breira or ein breira? Yes or no? And to all of this, we say teku. Now, what's fundamental? No, go ahead.
You're about to answer. I'm about to ask.
I don't know. I don't think so. I was going to say something. No. Correct. Okay, so you were very close. So I was going to say what I was planning on saying is that the teku component over here is on whether or not there's a din of lishma by mechika. If we had the answer to that question, we could solve many of the other questions. There's no question about the ksiva. The only real question is about the mechika. And all of the other questions snowball from our lack of knowledge about the mechika. That's answer number 1. Answer number 2 is more specific to you, David, is that this is not breira like we see throughout Shas. This is simply a question of, does this count for you and does it not count for you? And Rabbi Resnick actually called that out. He said, this is not typical breira. And therefore the breira, the teku could be on here as well. Either way, we don't know, and this is such an odd thing not to know. We're usually good about knowing lishma. We have like psukim and chumash that we say is this is lishma. We don't know if there's a din of lishma b'mechika. Now, mechika is a destructive component. I understand the ksiva, you're writing this because you normally when you erase something, like you're erasing your homework, whatever, like that's not the ikr. But here it's mamish, like a critical piece of what we're doing to get out of the Sotah scenario that we're in. We don't know the answer to the question. Okay. Next, boy Rava. Rava continues his questions without answers. Hashaka b'siv mahu. Bishvoferes mahu. What if she drinks out of different types of straws? Says the Gemara, is that derech shesiya bekach? It's normal to drink this way. Or, ein derech shesiya bekach. What's the best example of this? Leben on Pesach. Do you stab it with a straw and drink it? Is that how you drink leaven? Do you drink leaven? No. Okay. So my kids stab it with a straw and they drink the leaven that way. Adults, I presume, open the top and eat it with a spoon or don't eat leaven. Mark, come on. I don't know what happened in Encore. People have leaven in America. I didn't have any leavens. Yeah, no, it's a kid's food. So here the Gemara is saying by Sotah, is that a typical way for a person to drink? Because it needs to be that she's drinking the Sotah.
No, I have no idea. Juice stocks down.
So I would ask, and I'm not making a chakira. I would ask, is it as specific a din of the drinking by the Sotah, which is probably not true by the Dalakosas?
Also, you're supposed to drink with 1 gulp or something, right?
Oh, what? No, just kick it back.
I'm saying it's a little more difficult with a straw.
Yeah. Thank you for the sound effects, though. That's fantastic. I miss you guys so much. So that also, we don't know. The Gemara says, take it. We don't know if that's considered a normal form of drinking. There's a lot of unknowns here by Sotah. We're just missing a lot of information. And do we even say that the method by which she drinks, let's say ledugma, a person has a GJ tube, they get fed directly into their stomach. Does it have to be garon or does it have to be beten? Yeah, there's hundreds of questions that
everything has to do with it makes
correct. That was implied in the Gemara earlier, because the Gemara says that it was out of order when it said yerech before beten, but the reason it said beten before yerech is because that's the way that we drink. So l'chora, that's a raya to your point. That's right. Mutter. But that's because there's an isser of hanas garon, there's an isser of achila mamish. So you're saying that that's not called shasiya. That's a good raya. Yeah, my hunch is that it would be a 0. I'm just guessing. And by the way, we're also looking for a miraculous result here that the Sotah will do what it's supposed to do. So, like, I don't want to sound like it's magic, but there's a set of rules by which the Sotah will work. Right. Well, if she takes a bath in Sotah, like it doesn't work. Right? There's a method to the madness. So, is a straw too far removed from the shasiya or not? We don't know. Next, Boy Rav Ashi, halfway down. Nishbechu mehen v'nishtayru mehen mahu. This is a bad cup to tip over at the table. When I was growing up, we always had a competition of who would spill the first cup of the Daled Kosas on Pesach, and it was the same cousin every single year who would spill the first cup. My first cousin from New York. I'm not going to say who it was, but all the time. So the Gemara here is saying, what if you spill a little bit and you catch it on the way down? Some of it spills out, but you keep some in the cup. So what happens? Now you're missing some of the Sotah. You're missing some of the Mechikas Hashem. Says the Gemara, do we say that that's worthwhile or not? Take it, we don't know. Shifting gears slightly, halfway down. Amr Bzera Amarav. We know that the psukim by Sotah have Beis Shavuos. There's 2 times that it says that we make her promise. Beis Shavuos Amur B'Sotah Lama. Why does it say that there are 2 different languages of Shavua by the Sotah? And the Gemara gives in the name of Reb Zera, Achas kodem shenimcha kamegillah, ve'achas le'achar shenimcha. One is a Shavua for before they do the mechika on her behalf, and one is after. So Maskefla Rava, this is like his personality throughout Shas. I called this out a couple of weeks ago between Abai and Rava. Abai always was quick to change text of the Brisa, and Rava said, look at what's in front of you. Here he's doing the same thing again, but he's doing it with the psukim and chumash. What does Rava argue back to Reb Zera? That's not the flow of the psukim. Tarvayu kodem shenimcha kamegillah ksivan. If you look in chumash, the double language of shvua for her is before the psukim say that we're mochek Shem Hashem. So therefore, Rava pivots and gives a very practical text-based answer. Amar Rava, achas shvua sheyeshi ma'ala, ve'achas shvua she'eni ma'ala. One is a shvua that doesn't have an Allah, the consequence, the curse with it, and the other one does. What is considered to be a shvua that a person makes that does have the curse built in? So it says the Gemara, 6 lines from the bottom on Yud Ches Amud Aleph, Amar Rav Amram, Amar Rav. Here's the language of the shvua where it has an Allah, where it has a built-in curse. Mashbi'ani alayich shelo nitmes. You have to make a promise that you did not sleep with that man. She'im nitmes yavo vich. That if you did, you are going to have this mesota affect you. So what do we see here? 2 components. We have a shvua that she's making that she was shelo nitmes. She didn't sleep with this man, and also the Allah that if she did, she would in fact get the effects of the mesota. Amar Rava, that doesn't work. That language is not a good language, and this is what the Gemara we're about to see requires comparative analysis of 2 very subtle languages. Here's language number 1, where we say, Mashbi'ani alayich shelo nitmes, make a promise that you didn't sleep with him, followed by, if you did, you'll get a consequence. Rava says, no dice. The Allah lechuda kaima and shvua lechuda kaima. Those 2 phrases are split. The first one is Mashbi'ani alayich shelo nitmes, make me a shvua that you did not do what you were supposed to have done. And number 2 is she'im nitmes yavo. They're 2 distinct comments. They're not one shvua with a curse in it. So therefore, Elo Amar Rava, he says the language has to be more blended. Mashbi'ani alayich she'im nitmes yavo. Here it doesn't say that you did anything wrong. Make me a promise that if you're tmeya, you get a punishment. Not make me a promise that you're not tmeya. And if you are tmeya, you're going to get them. Not like that. It's a little bit smoother, a little bit more blended, without articulating the fact that she said that she didn't do anything. Ravashi doesn't like this. I'm a Ravashi. Allah, but here there's no shua about what she didn't do. That's missing from the language as well. Therefore, this Gemara concludes with the following language: Allah Amar Ravashi. What is the way that we can formulate a promise that has a shvua built in? Very similar to Rav Amram's phraseology above, but the Gemara basically here is saying that this is the right way. This is the right way to blend them. That if that we're going to say her shvua looks like this: make a promise that you are not nitmes, and not because therefore, not she'im like Rav Amram said, but v'im. And if that was true, then just by the way, it will become tmeya. That's what the Gemara says, and we conclude the sugya understanding as to why we have these 2 shvuos. That brings us to a new Gemara. Almahi omeres amein amein. She has to say amein amein, that she is in agreement that these shvuos are enforced, that they're actually that they're actually in play. So what are her amains representing? The Gemara says amein al ha'ala and amein al shvua. She's saying amein that she understands what the curses will be, what the consequences will be, and as well amein al hashvua, that she agrees that she's saying amein that she didn't do anything wrong. Right? This is a lot of buildup for one episode. We're really, and we've said this in the Gemara already, it was a chesed that we're pushing her like this because we don't want her to die and we don't want her to have a din any more chamer than she deserves. If she's innocent, we force her to drink it. Otherwise, you gotta.
If she agrees and admits that she did, they kill her anyway.
So great question. If she says that she did the crime, that she slept with the person she shouldn't have slept with, so then she's not a sotah anymore, and she would not drink the mesota. But whatever punishment she deserved for sleeping with that man, she gets. Sorry for whatever it is. Yes, but it's just not the mesota. So the mitzvah that we have here of a sotah is that we have a special formula where if she drinks the mesota under a certain set of circumstances, the mesota is miraculous. But it won't even work if she admits guilt. It only works if she doesn't admit guilt.
What is it worse, getting burned than drinking?
That's a good question. That's for heaven. I have no idea. That's for Shamayim. The difference between what? The what? The what?
So she wouldn't be executed without one witness.
She admits she's not.
There's only one witness, she wouldn't be executed.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
The benefit.
It's her own admittance in this case. That's true.
Admits to it, but there was only one witness, and she won't.
But the case of Sotah, we debated how many Eidim were required for Kinuin Stira in the Mishnah. So there might be 2 Eidim there.
Oh, one of those stages
For sure. So I don't know that she wouldn't get capital punishment.
If they want 882 more, then there's nothing wrong.
Even one ate too much.
1 aid is sufficient.
We discussed the case if Eidei Tuma even existed in the world.
1 aid is sufficient on the tummy ag, she doesn't drink.
Right.
1 aid is sufficient.
Right, just if they saw the door.
Before that, you need to have 2 to do the cumulative, 2 and 1 and 1.
One of those automatic closings.
Right.
The
The short answer to your question, whatever punishment she gets, if she admits, is that the Sotah waters won't work. The miraculous aspects of the Sotah waters won't work if she admits that she slept with this man. Okay. Yeah, that was the starting Mishnah. Okay, so then the Gemara says that's her first admittance. When she says Amen, she's saying, I know there's a curse. She's also saying, I know that there's a Shavua. We're also rolling into this, and the Rishonim here point out that this is what's called Gilgul Shvua. That if we don't have a strong enough reason for her to make a Shvua on X, if she's already making a Shvua on Y, we throw in X. So here the Gemara says she's saying her Amen, she's doing the Shvua as per the Chumash, whatever the requirements are in Chumash, and then we add in the following: Amen mi'ish zeh and Amen mi'ish acher. Now this has nothing to do with Sotah, but once she's making a shvua, we throw everything in the kitchen sink. Everywhere we're done. We're now we're putting everything on the table. She's saying, I didn't sleep with the guy that you said not to have shiur with, and I didn't sleep with anybody else either. Amen shalosatisi arusa v'nesua. I'm also telling you that I didn't stray when I was engaged to you, halachic engagement or in erusin, and also in nesuin, I never did anything wrong. And here's a throwback, and we're going to be discussing Yavama a little bit today. What about a case where a woman is a shomeres yavam, the shomeres yavam v'knusa? When I was awaiting marrying, let's take our case. Reuven is married to Rachel, and Reuven dies, and Rachel has no children. But Rachel does have a brother-in-law. Reuven's brother is Shimon, so Rachel's supposed to marry Shimon. So if let's say in this phase, when she's a shomeres yavam, she gets brought to Beis Din as a Sotah. So then, what does the Gemara say? The shomeres yavam, when I was a shomeres yavam, meaning I'm awaiting marriage to my yavam. Rachel was about to marry Shimon, and she says, I did nothing wrong then. And as well, the knusa, I also did nothing wrong after I was married to you. That what?
There's no union. It has to be both. The human series took place, and then he dies. Right?
No, we're talking about hold on one second. Are we talking about her infidelity with husband number 1, or while she was a shomeres yavam? Because this is if it's with marriage number 1 and there's a suffix about what she did with her first husband with Reuven, there's no yibum. There's no yibum.
Right. So this is the Kinu Sira.
It's all husband number 1.
With the yellow.
Isn't the idea that Gilgul that there was no one? It's just she.
Shomeres yavam mitzape umamtenes.
Clarifying that there's no skeletons in the closet.
She is saying that, but what Stan's asking about.
She says, while she's now married, right? And
Oh,
she
she's
says-
not married now. She's a shomeres yavam.
No, when she takes the shul, she says, including the time that I was.
Oh, she's looking in the past.
Right, it's just the kitchen sink.
Oh. That's true.
Her marriage to the.
She's currently married. To
She's
the-
married to Shimon now. She's married to Shimon. Shimon is thank you. Shimon is concerned about this,
Today.
the neighbor, right? So he brings her to Beis Din, and she's rattling off her past. I got confused there. The Gemara is going to discuss later what happens if in previous marriages.
Yeah, so what if she said, I was listening. What?
But if she was a shomeres yavam, then the yibum falls apart. There's no yibum.
There's no relevance to Sotah. In other words, the whole act of Sotah needs to be Kinu Sira with that husband to that other man. What relevance is this?
No, I think it's the idea of the kitchen sink. None of these were cases that she was warned about, but now that she's got to stand in front of Beis Din, in front of the Kohanim.
Stan is saying the case shouldn't even be brought in the Mishnah because the case of shomeres yavam who did something wrong, well, it's a 0.
It's the same as a Russo, like you said before.
No, but there's a complete invalidation of a yavama. There in a case of yibum, if there's any,
Agreed,
yeah,
but she's now a regular married woman
to Shimon, yeah.
right? Go back, all the way back to when I was an Arusa from Reuven, or when I was a Shomeres Yavam.
To you.
From Shimon, the whole.
But what purpose?
We're actually going to see in the Gemara.
No, right, but Okay, well, we gotta be some lot, no?
Yeah.
Captured for anything, it was. No, that's why asking her to declare her innocence,
Yeah, so she said when she was.
she's declaring I am.
But I'm saying if she's not, saying I'm not,
So you're asking what happened if she was. It's sort of.
Baalei Tosfos here write that she is halachically equivalent. A Shomer Yavim is equivalent to an Arusa Shezinso.
It sort of makes sense.
I hear your question. I hear your question. I hear your question. The Gemara does speak about this sugya, which we're going to jump into this a little bit more.
Not today, but something before. That I don't.
Yes, but I'm treating the Sotah for that. for
Right.
what happened.
But it would ruin her marriage with Shimon if she said that when she, yeah,
There's nothing Sotah.
correct.
That I have zero.
It could be the Gilgal, just broadly Gilgal, kitchen sink stuff could be, but I'm not sure.
We're not assuming that she's gonna.
Okay. What?
We're not assuming that she's gonna do it.
Hoping she.
We're hoping she will. And once we have the scenario where she's making even one neder, one shavua, we're going to make her make shuas about everything.
What happens to,
What do you mean? Which man? The man that she was in, that she slept with? Got to look at the scenario. This we were talking before. There are Edom that saw it. We gotta figure all that out. All right. So the Mishnah continues at Shomer Yavim the Knusa and Amein Shaloni Tmesi, the Imni Tmesi, Yavouvi. Then she's also saying, I'm making a shavua that I did not do anything wrong. And if I did, I know what's coming. Now listen to Rav Meir in the Mishnah. Mechudash mamish. This is a crazy shita. Rav Meir Omer that Sotah is one-stop shopping. Once the woman is brought to Bezdin and she says, Amen shaloni tmesi and Amen shalo etameh down the road. What does that mean? So today on January 1st, she's a Sotah. She's at the gates of Nicanor and she's doing her Sotah thing. And she says, Amen. Not only was I not Tmei in the past, but if I'm ever Tmei in the future, the Mei Sotah will have an effect then. One-stop shopping. Which also is mashma later in the Gemara, because there's machlokas if one woman can go back to be Sotah ever twice. Or Meir would say there's no need, at least not with this guy, because with this guy, the it's in her blood now, and it's like like in the injections for COVID, they put the microchips in. It's perfect. This is a perfect scenario. It's great. So then the Gemara says that's what Rav Meir Shita is very mechudash. We have to figure out how that works. The Gemara will bring another brisa to explain. 3 lines down on Yud Chesem at Beis HaKol Shav, and everyone agrees she'ein masneima that you cannot make any conditions with her, which is code word for you cannot even talk about whether or not she slept with this person, that it factors into the amains, to the shuas. They don't apply lo al kodem shetis ares if she slept with someone before she was engaged, or below achar shetis garish, or after she's been divorced. Now, granted, it may not be mutter for her to sleep with someone at that time, and it's not mutter for her to sleep with someone at that time. But if she does, that can't be included in the shvua. It's out of bounds, right? There's a lower and upper limit to the intimacy, and the Gemara explains it like this. The Mishnah says, "Nistera le'acher le'echad v'nitmeis ve'achar kach hichzira." Let's say in between marriages, she slept with someone. Lo haya masnema, that doesn't count as part of the shvua. And the Mishnah lays down the law. Zakla. Any intimacy where a woman sleeps with a man, and that intimacy will not lead to an issur between the two of them, that's not the type of intimacy that can be part of the amains of the shvua that a Sotah makes. So therefore, if before she's married, let's say she gets married at 21 and she sleeps with someone at the age of 20, usur, many times over, different isurim, but it's not going to be this Sotah shvua, baby in the bathwater. Oh, I make a shvua that I never slept with a man. That's not the shvua you have to make. That's not what we're talking about. Only arusa and knusa. Only once you're engaged and once you're married. And if you're divorced, again, it's not mutter to sleep with someone when you're single. But if you do, that doesn't get thrown back at you later in regards to Sotah status. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Hamnuna, Shomeres Yavam Shezinsa Asur Liyavama. If a woman who is awaiting marriage to her Yavam, her brother-in-law. So again, Ruvain died. Rachel has no children. Rachel's about to marry Shimon. During that waiting time, after Ruvain's death and before her marriage to Shimon, if during that time Ruvain died on January 1st, she was supposed to get married on March 1st, and she slept with someone on February 1st. So the din is she's not allowed to marry Shimon anymore. The yibum is gone.
Going back to the point we talked about, there is no case of Yavama by the case of Sotah.
This has nothing to do with Sotah yet.
Something with Sotah.
Not yet. Not yet. But it will in a minute, and your question will resurface. But this, we actually learned this Gemara in Yevamos. This Gemara came up a couple of times there, and in a vacuum, it stands true. There's nothing to do with Sotah. Yeah. Makes complete sense. Yeah. It makes complete sense. Yeah, it does. So then the Gemara says, Mimai, what is the Mari Makom that supports this idea that if a Shomeres Yavam sleeps with someone outside of Shimon, that the Yibum is off? Our Mishnah. Because what is our Mishnah, right? Shomeres Yavam the Knusa. That a woman who is a Shomeres Yavam, she's awaiting marriage to Shimon, and a Knusa, once she's already married to Shimon, and then she's brought in as a Sotah. Under all of those circumstances, we said in our Mishnah that is all looped in, that's all included in the shiur. Now, Iamris Bishlama Asira, if you want to say that Rav Hamnuna is right, and really if the Shomeres Yavam sleeps with someone before she marries Shimon, that she's going to be Asura to Shimon, then I can understand why she's looped into the Shavuos. Elai Amris lo asira. But if you say, not like Rav Hamnuna, if you say that a Shomeres Yavam Shezinsa is not asur to the Yavama, then heichi masne behada. Then how does our Mishnah work? Well, it's not. Our Mishnah taught us a rule. Se'aklal kol she'ilu tiboel v'lo te'asur lo haya masne imam. It must therefore be, says Rav Hamnuna, that the din is that Shomeres Yavam Shezinsa is asur liyavama, and the raya is from our Mishnah, because otherwise our Mishnah makes no sense. How could you say that in our case that he's making a shvua on a tashmish amita that wouldn't otherwise be usher? It has to be that it causes isser between her and the person that she's supposed to marry. So therefore, it must be that Rav Hamnuna is right. So Amre, the Gemara says, Amre b'ma'arava. Rav Hamnuna was in Bavel. In Ma'arava, in Eretz Yisrael, sometimes you hear from the other base medrash and you're like, there's no way they're right. So in Eretz Yisrael, they said, that's not pshat in the Mishnah. You misunderstood. Leis hilchasa ki Rav Hamnuna. The halacha is not like Rav Hamnuna. The Tosfos over here, Dibra Maskal Amri b'Ma'arava, where it says Leis hilchasa ki Rav Hamnuna. It's fascinating. Look 4 lines into that Tosfos. Afal gab the pasuk, even though we have in our Gemara Leis hilchasa ki Rav Hamnuna, hilchasa kavase. The halacha is taka like him. So what's happening in our Gemara? Our Gemara is not rejecting the din of Rav Hamnuna. It's rejecting the raya of Rav Hamnuna. It's saying that our Mishnah is not the source for Rav Hamnuna. We agree, a Shomeres Yavam Shezinsa Asur liyavama, but it's not from our Mishnah. The Gemara says, Amri b'ma'arava leisel chasak Rav Hamnuna. It's not, and I'm just going to retranslate according to the understanding of those. The Mari Makom is wrong. Elahadegatani Shomeres Yavam the Knusa Hamani. Who is that talking about in our Mishnah? Stan, this may be an answer to your question. Rabbi Akiva he to Omar Ein Kiddushin Tovsin b'chayve Lavin. There's no kiddushin when there is a chayve lavin. Namely, once she sleeps with someone, Yavama Shezinsa, so now there's an Isser Lav for her to marry Shimon. And says the Gemara, kiddushin is not tofes. It's not that she's asura be'etzem, it's that the kiddushin is not chal. That's what he says is pshat in our Mishnah. Umashve la ki erva. And we treat her, even though it's only, quote unquote, only an Isser Lav, but still we treat her, b'chamura, we treat her like an erva. So your Mari Makom is wrong. The din is the same, but the Mari Makom is wrong. Next, Boy Rebbe Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says just about halfway down on Yud Chesim base, heading to the end of the parak. Mahu sheyasne adam al nisuin harishonim al nisue achiv mahu. What about a case scenario where a person is asking back on the first marriage to this woman, married, got divorced, got married. And he says, well, when we were married the first time, we went through kinui and stira with the neighbor, right? Or al nisue achiv. Shimon says, but you, Rachel, when you were married to my brother, there was kinui and stira. What about those cases? Ma'u toshma, says the Gemara, I have a raya for you. And our raya is found in our Mishnah, Ze'aklal. Any tashmish amita that would have caused isser between the two parties, that is eligible for shvuah material. That means that there could be a problem. Therefore, if Shimon finds out after they were married that she did something with someone else while she was married to Ruvain, there is no yibum, and their whole marriage is a sham, and therefore that is included in the neder. Let's talk about Rav Meir's very mechudash din. Rav Meir said the amen was not only shalom nitmesi, but shalom atama, that I will not become tmei in the future. Says the Gemara 2/3 of the way down. Tanya, the Brisa writes, Lo kisha amar Rav Meir amen shalom etma she'im titma mayim bodkino samei achshav. It's not a crystal ball where today is January 1st and the woman is sitting there drinking the Sotah, and B'nevu HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that on February 1st she's going to do something wrong, therefore today she's going to blow up. No, that's not pshat. That's not what it means. And Shim Titma, that's not correct. Ella Lichashet Titma Mayim Me'ararin Osa Bodkin Osa. It's on February 1st. So again, as mentioned, when she ingests the Sotah, it's one-stop shopping. And the husband never has to worry about his wife cheating ever again. If he comes home one day and his wife has exploded, he knows what happened. And if she's still there intact, he knows that she's been yashar. He knows. So Rav Meir's understanding of the psukim is that the nature of the Sotah is forever for that woman. Boy Ravashi, what about asking about a marriage later? What does this mean? Do we say Hashta miha lo asirale, nothing's happened yet. Odilma zimnin dimagarish lavahadar mahadarla. Sometimes a husband can get divorced and get remarried. The Gemara says, same raya as before. Toshma, we have our Mishnah, Kol Shavin. Shlohaya masni ma'al kodem shetisaris, v'lo al achar shetisgarish. Says the Gemara, you cannot have a case of Isser where a woman was intimate with someone outside of typical marriage. Again, sleeping with someone when she's single is usher for its own reasons, but it doesn't get looped into the whole Sotah promise. So says the Gemara, what did we say in our Mishnah? We had said, Nistara le'echad v'nitmeis ve'achar kach yachzirena lo haya masna, that she slept with someone, and then afterwards the husband remarried her, lo haya masna, but hayachzirena v'sitma hachanami demasni, but had they already gotten back together, and then she was tmeya hachanami demasni. So that means that if she drank the Sotah with husband number while she was married, and then there was a divorce and a remarriage, Sotah still works. The scope. Okay, let's get into some psukim. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, based on the psukim, Zos Toras HaKanos. These are the halachos of the kanos, of the jealous one. Melamed Sha'isha Shosa Vishona. This is not like Rav Meir. Rav Meir seems to say one-stop shopping. And in this brisa, we're going to see three shitas. Shita number one is the Tanakama, where we see that a woman can drink and re-drink. She can be called to task multiple times on Sotah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no. What? We're going to get into all of those details right now. Exactly right. Is it one woman with two different men? Is it one woman with the same man multiple times? Is it talking about first marriage or second marriage for the woman? So those three iterations are now going to be debated in the Gemara up to the end of the paragraph. So the Gemara says that Rabbi Yehuda holds as follows. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the Tanakama. Omar Zos, she'ein ha'isha shosa v'shona. No, a woman is not able to drink Sotah and then be brought to task again and drink Sotah again. And Omar Rabbi Yehuda, he has a raya. Maisa, there was a story. Nechunya, he dug some pits for Klal Yisrael. He was therefore called accordingly. So Nechunya said, Sha'isha is shosa v'shona. Yes, there is a time when a woman does this. However, the kibalnu edusa b'shnei anashim. And that's only true if husband number one called her to task and she was a Sotah, then she got divorced, and then husband number two took her to task, and then she had to drink the Sotah again. Maskim. Aval lo be'ish echad. But with one husband, a woman cannot be brought to task multiple times. And then the third shita, 5 lines from the bottom. Yud ches samid beis v'chachamim omrim ein ha'isha shosa v'shoneh bein be'ish echad bein beveis anoshim. That sounds a lot like the Reb Meir that we saw earlier, that there is no such thing as a woman drinking Sotah twice. Ay v'tanakama, you seem so comfortable saying that it's shosa that she can drink twice. But if that's true, but Tanakama nami haksiv zos. What about the pasuk that says zos? So says the Gemara. That's question number one. And v'Rabbanan basrai, the last sheet on the brisa, the Chachamim who seem to say that she never ever drinks. V'Rabbanan basrai nami haksiv toras. We have 2 words here that need explaining. We understand a little bit how Rabbi Yehuda threaded the needle. What we don't understand is your 2 shitas. So then the Gemara says, Omar Rava, this is a synopsis, a really great way to clarify what's going on in our Gemara. Amar Rava, v'ish echad, u'boal echad. When we're talking about one husband, let's say Ruvain and Rachel. So when we're talking about Ruvain and when we're talking about Rachel, and Rachel constantly has an attraction to another guy, so then everyone agrees that that woman is never called to task twice in the same marriage for the same Yetzer Hara. Okay. So that's what the Gemara says, Dichsiv, top of your testament out, because the pasuk says this. And everyone also agrees on the other side of the bell curve. Everyone agrees there too, that if you have a case scenario where Rachel was married to Shimon and she was tempted by Chaim, and then Rachel was married to Shmuel and was tempted by Esau. In all of those cases, everyone agrees there too that she can be Shoseh v'Shona, for sure. Where is this three-way machlokas, and what is this three-way machlokas? The Gemara says as follows: 3 lines down. Keep ligi beish echad ushnei boalin, where we're talking about the same Chaim that she's attracted to, who she's not supposed to be with, but keep ligi beish echad, one husband, ushnei boalin, and she's attracted to 2 different men. Let's say Esav and Yishmael, right? Oh, they have to be Jews, but yeah. And b'shnei anoshim, or it's 2 husbands, she's married first to Ruvain, and then she's married to Shimon, and she's constantly attracted to the same person. And here is the machlokas. Tanakama Savar, the initial opinion of the Tanakama that we saw at the Tanu Rabbanon, where he held that the woman can be Shoseh v'Shoneh, he says that the word Toras is l'ribuye kulhi, that all of the cases are included, and Zos is only to exclude one case, l'me'ute ish echad uvoel echad, that in such a case that there is no Shoseh v'Shoneh. The only time the Tanakama would say that there's no repeating of drinking of the Sotah is if she's married to Ruvain and is constantly attracted to Shimon. Any other version is going to be eligible for repetition for Sotah. V'Rabbanan Basrai, the Chachamim in our Mishnah, who seem to be pretty loose about the whole thing, that seemingly she can be called to task, that she'll never be called to task twice. So what do? Sabre, they hold Zos l'mu'ute kuli. That excludes everybody. She never needs to drink again. And Toras l'ribuye shnei anoshim v'shnei boalin. And there is only one case, the perfect storm of 2 husbands and 2 tempted and two men that she's attracted to. Then we would say that there's 2 Sotas, but nothing in between. And Rabbi Yehuda, he lives in the middle. Rabbi Yehuda holds as follows: Zos l'me'ute tarte, and Toras l'rabos tarte. The pasuk of Zos teaches us to exclude 2 cases, and the word Toras includes 2. Zos l'me'ute tarte. What are the 2 cases that are removed? That's ish echad uvoel echad. That there he would for sure agree that there is no shoseh v'shoneh, and as well ish echad ushnei voalin. If there's one man and she's tempted by 2 other men, in those cases he says for sure not. For sure not. And Toras, the word Toras is l'ribuye, to teach us the following. To teach us tarte, 2 cases. Shnei anashim uvoel echad, that in such a case there is shoseh v'shoneh, and shnei anashim ushnei boalim, that of course there's also shoseh v'shoneh. So big machlokas, but only in a case of ish echad ushnei boalim and shnei anashim uvoel echad. We'll stop right here. Hadran alacha, and maybe Baruch Hashem we finish another parak. We should come back to this daf in 7.5 years. Wishing you all a beautiful night.